Hey friends, Ben from NLFX, and I am here at the NLFX Proving Grounds, better known as a convention center ballroom, and we've got with us the brand new JBL PRX1, and we're going to take an honest run through on this thing and just see what it's all about for you. Now, before we get started, after I put this thing through its paces, one of the things I wondered in my mind was, I wonder how it really stacks up against some of its competitors in this class. And I've been doing professional sound for almost 30 years, touring. I've heard thousands of loudspeakers, and I feel like I've got a pretty good ear and a pretty good mind, but sometimes it's just really nice to see two loudspeakers head to head with science. So if there's a loudspeaker you want to see the JBL PRX1 stacked up against, put it in the comments and let's see if we can't do like a loudspeaker deathmatch video for you and see how they stack up. But that being said, let's take a look at the PRX1 and give you a first look at this brand new loudspeaker from JBL. First things first, it ships in 3 pieces in one box. We've got the sub-unit with the amplifier and the display, which we'll look at in a minute. The top elements ship in a bag, and there are 2 of them that pop together. It goes together very quickly and easily. I do think this is an upgrade from the previous columns that JBL had. Just seems to go together a bit easier and a little bit smoother. And that's it. Assembly's done. We're ready to turn this column on and see what we got here. So the first thing I should mention is the column elements themselves have 12 2.5-inch drivers, but we're going to take a look now at the main base unit here, which contains the amplifier, the subwoofer, and all of our control. We can see here our power button, standard IEC power input, a really nice color display, our menu and mode select buttons here that allow us to navigate through the menus. We've got 7 inputs, including 4 combo inputs with XLR mic preamps and 1/4-inch inputs. We've got 2 dedicated line inputs, and then we've got a 3.5mm and a Bluetooth input as well. The pass-through output, I'm going to talk about a little later because there are some things I really like about that. For our purposes here today, we're just going to use a XLR line in, and I'm going to come into number 2 because I've done some EQ things on number 1 to show you. But we want to test the audio with a completely flat environment. That being said, there are several different settings you can go, presets I guess you'd call them. So in our presets menu, we've got flat, which is what we're going to use for testing just to see what the loudspeaker's response is. And then there's some various EQ things that we can look at, including a speech preset, KTV, DJ, cafe. I may have to go back and look at what the cafe EQ preset is. I'm just sort of curious, to be honest with you. Brighter, give a little bit more top-end presence. And darker. I'm rocking the Stormtrooper t-shirt today, so we're all about the dark side. Anyway, you can also see some of the other things that they've put in here from some of their sister companies because JBL is part of the Harman Group, which includes companies like Soundcraft, Lexicon, and DBX. It also comes with a pretty well-featured app, and I think they'll probably continue to add things as they go. Here you can see how quickly it finds this PRX1. I say, yes, I want to connect to that. It's going to go ahead and get this thing synced up, and then we'll have some app control. Now, one thing that kind of made me, I guess, laugh a little bit is it has a locate button. So just in case you lost your speaker, not really, that's not what it's for. What it allows you to do is to identify that particular speaker. So if we're controlling a number of speakers, we can press locate to see which one this one is, and I can say yes, I found it by pressing a button, and then it will go away. I can also rename this speaker. So if I now want to go find NLFX demo in a group of loudspeakers, I can press the locate button, and I know for sure that I've got that loudspeaker here. So now that we've looked at all the other features, how does it sound? Now, before we get into this, I want to tell you that I think if you put 10 sound guys in a room, you're going to get 11 different opinions. And everybody has a bias, including me. There are certainly systems that I like to mix on that I'm more comfortable with and a sound that I prefer. So I'm not going to tell you how I think it sounds. I'm going to show you. We're going to take some calibrated measurements using the smart acoustic measurement software, and I'm going to keep my opinions out of it. If you want to hear my opinions, by all means, feel free to message me and I'll share them, but that's what they are, opinions. So here's how we're going to measure this. In our ballroom, we've got a calibrated measurement microphone, 25 feet directly on axis from the loudspeaker. And we're going to take another measurement 50 feet behind that and see how it fares going a whopping 75 feet back. And then over here to my right, we've put another loudspeaker 65 degrees off axis of the loudspeaker because JBL boasts that the PRX1 has 130 degree horizontal coverage. I'm a little skeptical, but we're going to find out. So taking a quick look at the app, I really do like this app. This is one thing I think they did really well, and I think it's got some potential. Only a couple minor gripes with it. As we look at our individual channel strip, and here we can see all of our inputs, each channel has a dynamic section. So we've got our compressor and some settings there. We've got some presets as well, which is kind of nice. In our EQ section, I really like this. We've got a multi-band parametric, there's a high pass filter, selectable slope, and a few presets in there as well. I feel like operating the EQ is just a little bit clunky and difficult, but I think that's something they could easily change with the app as they go. And all in all, I think they're off to a good start. Effects sends, we've got some built-in effects here, some verb, delay, chorus, and a sub-synth. One of the things I really dig is we've got a tap. That's something I really use a lot, working front of house, and I like that. And then we've got a global effects in out up here. So nice job on that, Harman. Again, no surprise coming from the folks that make Soundcraft and that sort of thing. We've also got selectable phantom power and a couple inputs here. We've got sensors for a ducker, and of course we can rename this channel if we want. So I could choose to make this channel something clever if I could think of a name, but I can't, so we'll just move on. As we move on down the strip here, we can see there's the level of my effects returns, and here is my pass-through XLR out, which this I really like. There's a couple settings here. We can turn this pass-through out on or off. We can choose if we want a full range output, a sub output, or a custom setting. And then from there, we have some parameters that we can adjust to determine exactly what's going through that, including some delays and that sort of thing. So again, I think they did a really nice job on the pass-through output. So as I talk, we can see these spectrum analyzers on the screen react to my voice, and each of these represents one of my two microphones. On top, the pink RTA represents my on-axis microphone right here at 25 feet back from the loudspeaker, and the blue RTA represents another microphone that we looked at, also 25 feet from the loudspeaker, but 65 degrees off axis, representing one side of the 130 degree coverage that JBL tells us we're going to get. So what we're going to do now is we're going to play some pink noise, and if the loudspeaker had a perfect representation of the signal, and it's important to note that we're in a ballroom here, so we're going to have some things like reflections, some cancellations, that sort of thing, so it's not going to be a purely anechoic measurement. However, it is going to be really real world, because this is in fact where these things will live when they're in the wild. They're going to be used at ballrooms and that sort of thing. So if it were a perfect representation of the signal being sent to it, it would represent a flat line. And so let's take a look and see what we get. We're going to put an average on here real quick, and then we're going to play some pink noise. So as we can see, here we have a comparison for the on-axis measurement and the off-axis measurement. Now, it is very typical. As you start to get off-axis, we begin to see some loss on the high frequency, and in fact, that is what we see here. We see a pretty deep cut, and then it comes back a little bit here, actually. And I can tell you, having walked it, it was definitely noticeable. But all in all, really not too bad. And we can see the response here from the low frequency being a little bit different. And again, we have to think about the fact that there probably are some factors here with the room. Let's take and just overlay these real quick, and let's see what we get. So there you can see the difference between the on-axis and the off-axis measurements. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm really curious to hear how it sounds on-axis, but 75 feet back. Let's do that too. So now I've got another mic set up 75 feet back, exact same microphone, same calibration, same level settings, everything the same. All we're going to do is see what the difference is between our 25-foot measurement and our 75-foot measurement to see how this loudspeaker fares at distance. All right, here are the results, and what we can see, no surprise, it's quieter 75 feet back than it is 25 feet from the loudspeaker. That shouldn't surprise anybody. But here we can also see how it responds differently across the frequency spectrum. Low frequency being here, high frequency being here, and we can see how it attenuates. And again, we have to think about the fact that there are some things happening in this room that undoubtedly play into that. But this gives us a really good chance to see what this loudspeaker does near, far, and off axis. Let's just plug that in real quick, and now we can see the comparison of the three. So there you have it. There's a very quick overview of the brand new PRX1 from JBL. Two things we need you to do real quick. Number one, be sure to absolutely smash that subscribe button so you don't miss other exciting videos featuring me, your favorite nerd, or some of the other more talented and better looking people we have at NLFX. We're all going to be working hard on videos for you. And number two, be sure to put in the comments your questions or what loudspeaker you'd like to see the PRX1 compared to in our loudspeaker deathmatch, and we will try to do that for you as well. So once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for your support of NLFX. We appreciate you a bunch, and you have a great day.